36 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry, Tranche 2, Phase 2. We've been listening to more evidence of HN1, the former undercover police officer who used the cover name Matt Rayner to infiltrate the animal rights movement in the early 1990s. We started the day, after a whole bunch of technical problems, with the introduction of a report that the HN1, along with other members of the SDS, wrote in 1996 and was sent to the Home Secretary. It's about the differences between animal rights activists, Animal Liberation Front activists, and Animal Liberation Front extremists. It makes some very, very bold claims about the Animal Liberation Front. Now, those of you who are aware of who the Animal Liberation Front were and are, you'll know that the part of the policy of the ALF was that no harm should ever come to any animals, and that includes humans. This report claims that the Animal Liberation Front believed that murder of animal abusers was not only justifiable but necessary, and that the assassination of a prominent animal abuser was imminent, that it was being planned, and that the ALF intended to carry it out. There was no evidence for this whatsoever. HN1 was pushed very hard on this. The report says that it's not melodramatic to state that things are underway already. He says, oh yeah, he stands by all of it. There is no evidence whatsoever. Nobody was ever killed by the Animal Liberation Front. He's pushed on this repeatedly. One of the answers he comes up with is saying that, well, in Huntsab and the fox hunting, the tensions were running high and there'd been casualties already. He was pointing to the death of Huntsabs as a reason why the ALF were about to murder somebody. It was just absolutely appalling, and also just completely ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. He made himself look a complete fool. I don't think we can take HN1 in any way seriously. He's a total fantasist. He really stood by this. We went through this for quite a while. I was about 40 minutes of questioning. At the end of this report, there were 22 names who were purportedly the top animal rights extremists, the top ALF extremists in the country. The vast majority of these people did not have a registry file. Now, registry files are the internal government documents about people who they consider any form of threat. We've seen repeatedly how people who were just going to meetings, going to demos, ended up with a registry file. It appeared that once you'd been mentioned about 4 or 5 times, you got a registry file. We were in fact taken to some reports that HN1 had written about people who did not yet have a registry file, where he said they were very loud on demonstrations. And there's a note on the cover from his manager, who at that point was Bob Lambert, who we heard from before Christmas, saying, it's time to open a registry file on these people because they're loud on demos. The idea that 20 individuals who were supposedly the people who were running the Animal Liberation Front, who were planning murder, did not have a registry file is so ridiculous as to completely undermine anything else that unit comes out with. HN1 stands by all of it, says, well, if he had been Home Secretary, and seemed to be something that he was very comfortable with imagining, as if being Home Secretary was something that he sort of aspired to in his current day job. I don't know, still don't know who he is, what he does, but he understands legislation. That if he had been Home Secretary and he had been presented this report, that he would have seen it as part of a wider understanding, that nothing was new in it, that there were key individuals who had very strong feelings. I mean, utter fucking guff. This man is... I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so serious. I mean, there is the fact that a secret police unit was telling the government of the day, the Home Secretary of the day, the person who was in charge of policing, the person who was in charge of the security services, that the ALF were in fact a murder gang, based on no evidence whatsoever, and was not even properly recording information about the people that it supposedly thought were a murder gang. It was just utter shite. Really made me really angry, actually. It's that thing about, the Animal Liberation Front was and is concerned with the liberation of animals. People in animal rights are driven by many things. We heard from Paul Gravitt on Monday when he talked about anti-speciesism. I think for a lot of us who believe in animal rights, it's about compassion. It's about moving towards a more compassionate world. It's about, hopefully, the idea that if people can realise that animals are also living creatures who deserve respect and life, that perhaps we could move towards a world where everybody has more compassion about each other, It's about a different way of seeing the world, about a different way about the sanctity of life. The idea that organisation, the most committed organisation in that movement was actually secretly a murder gang. Fuck you. It really, really, really offensive. HN1 is a complete clown. But he is a complete clown who caused a great deal of misery for a huge number of people. People who just wanted to make the world a better place, who were looking to save the lives of sentient creatures. And he slandered them as murderers. He slandered the murderers in official reports that went right to the top. He slandered the murderers in reports that went right to the top and then were acted on, that caused, over the last 30 years for animal rights to be treated as a form of terrorism. Yeah, absolutely appalling. Appalling in the extreme. Yeah, there were some other things that were talked about. Just a little aside, he keeps calling Emma Gargata, the barrister who is questioning him, Emma. Just calling her Emma. I don't know if you... I mean, it's not that unusual. I mean, if I was ever called... I don't know if I will or not, but if I was ever called, I'll be calling everybody by their first name as well. It's fine. But that's because I'm over familiar. That's just... But I don't believe that he's generally over familiar. Now, he might be doing it because she's a woman and he wouldn't do it towards a man, or it might be that he is familiar with who she is. Now, Emma Gargata is a very senior barrister. She is on some anti-terrorism panel. Does he work in that area? I don't know. I can only speculate. I can't speculate that much. I can't name him. If I don't find out who he is, I wouldn't be able to name him because I'm part of this inquiry process. If you're not part of this inquiry process, you might feel differently. But yeah, it's only a short break. I need to go for a walk because I'm really angry. So I'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, HN1's approach to his entire deployment is one of complete fantasy. I think that's the headline. All right, thanks for joining. See you all in a bit.